You know, Meriwether Williams and I have an estranged relationship. She's written well on many shows. Lil's Pet Shop, she's written okay. SpongeBob SquarePants, she's written a majority of the fan-favorite episodes. And I don't even need to mention that Camp Laszlo was freaking awesome. But for whatever cosmic reason unbeknownst to mankind, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is Williams' kryptonite. SpongeBob gets Christmas Who, My Little Pony gets Hearthswarming Eve. SpongeBob gets squirrel jokes, MLP gets putting your hoof down. SpongeBob gets the algae's always greener, MLP gets Dragon Quest. SpongeBob gets freaking Band Geeks, MLP gets Spike at your fucking service. Camp Laszlo won 2 primetime Emmys that she wrote for, and MLP got the mysterious Mare-de-Well. So, after watching Bats, I just have one thing to say to the writer. Who are you and what'd you do with the Meriwether Williams I know and despise? Hello everybody and welcome back to My Little Pony What Works. Today I'm looking at my least favorite writer's first entry into season 4 with Bats. Wow, I bet it took you all night to come up with that title, didn't you, Williams? Apple booking season is back in full swing, or at least it would be if the apples were ripe for the picking. Actually, they're quite the opposite, as it appears the juices have been sucked dry by an infestation of vampire fruit bats. Applejack requires the help from everyone to get rid of the monsters, but Fluttershy tries to give another side of the argument by saying they present a mutual relationship rather than a parasitic relationship to the apple orchard. However, peer pressure from the rest of the girls convinces Fluttershy to do something she doesn't want to do to the bats with unforeseen consequences. Now, remember my Dragon Quest review when I talked about the Williams tropes of MLP? Well, you can toss that aside because none of those tropes appear. Unless you count Rainbow Dash's desire for cider as unnatural, then no, it doesn't show up. Quite the opposite. In fact, the consequences from the Stare and Twilight spell change up the story quite nicely. No, because the vampire bats were the driving force and didn't feel contrived at any point. To the contrary, the episode grabbed the opportunity to talk about consequences of peer pressure in its own unique way. Non-existent. The girls followed through on their plan and brought Fluttershy back from the vampiric side, although this does make Fluttershy and Rarity stories from the Monster Mash a place in canon. Speaking of certain characters involving horror elements, Fluttershy's a bat. Did not see that coming. And we do see she's played a very strong role in the episode, even though she does become vampiric at the end of Act 2. But the focus was, of course, on Applejack. And this is where I must disagree with Digibrony. Now, this is jumping the gun a bit on the moral portion of the review, but I feel Applejack's moral portrayed the best out of the two morals.
But in reality, Applejack never learns any reasons to keep the bats around other than what she already knew. They don't decide to make a bat sanctuary because they care about the bats more than they did before. They do it because they realize that getting rid of them is too much of a pain in the ass. What kind of a lesson is that?
No, the reason they let the bats stay was her short-term solution to the problem had negative side effects. Having one of her best friends being turned into a bat-like creature. She even mentions in the third act, when they were past the point of no return for the trees, all she cared for was to get her friend back to normal. That's a pretty bold move for the character who's known to be pretty stubborn concerning her apple crop. So I can go ahead and say that Bats is now my favorite Applejack episode. Holy crap, did they deliver on the technical side of things. There is too much to cover here. Flutterbat was designed very creepily, the tone shift was well met for the atmosphere presented, but I really want to gush over Meriwether Williams' biggest strength in MLP, depicting a setting for the characters to work off of. Williams always depicts a beautiful setting, no matter how contrived the setup. This time we see what the apple orchard looks at night, or as Rainbow Dash calls it,
the witching hour.
Did some ponies say the witching hour? Not now, horror score. Don't have to be such a stick in the mud. Anyways, the music fits the episode's later tones, but we have to talk about the song. And I can say, Daniel Ingram appears to be as big as a fan of Danny Elfman as I am. Not only is it well orchestrated, but the lyrics play into the driving force of Applejack's consequences later on. Not much to say about the entertainment value this time around. It was humorous when it needed to be, scary when it called for it, and it kept my attention throughout. Yeah, I don't have to say anything other than the episode didn't make me cringe or angry. Like I said, there were two morals learned this episode. The first I already talked about in Applejack's character portion, but now we talk about the other moral that Fluttershy learned. This is the first time we talked about peer pressure in the show for Technicolor ponies. Surprisingly, it turned out well and connected to the story nicely. I should also mention that this is the first time the show tackled two morals, both learned by different ponies, successfully. Take that, Castlemania and Games Ponies Play. Alright, let's recap. The story is well thought out and doesn't use any of Season 2 Williams tropes. Fluttershy and Applejack were utilized well in this episode. Music and animation fit the tone of the plot. It was genuinely entertaining, and it executed two morals in the same episode well. As a result, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm awarding Bats, and to my least favorite writer, 4 out of 4 stars. I don't know if it was better show running on McCarthy's part or Williams is learning from her mistakes during seasons past, but if Williams remains on this path, she might actually end up on the good writer list along with Polsky after Daring Don't. Next time, another one of my wish list episodes appears as we world build in Rarity Takes Manhattan. Until then, I'm the voice of reason and... What was that?
Oh, nothing. Just a little experiment I had planning while you were searching for me.
What did you do?
Well, I wanted to see what happens if I threw a horror symbol into the rift, and would you know it, they appear to be multiplying.
You son of a... I'll be back for this!
That's what you get for shunning me out of the review.